Welcome everyone to the very first episode of the Rondo, where I hang out with my boy Josh, presenter at FNR, and also a play-by-play commentator. The format of the Rondo is I'm just going to throw a quick fire topic to Josh, who is balls deep into football, and he's going to just kind of riff with me about some things that are on my mind. I want to start with Arsenal because I was watching the game. My dad literally left half an hour in and he said, I have too much respect for Arsenal to continue watching this. What's going on? Arteta in, Arteta out. Where do you stand on this?
Well, they've spent over 100 million on this rebuild and they've barely altered their first team. So that tells you everything you need to know about the job that the transfer gurus, I don't know who's running it. Is it Edu these days?
Yeah.
That shows the job that they're doing at the Gunners. I mean, geez, Arsenal have been so bereft of investment for so long, and now they've managed to waste all of that money just, I guess, filling out their local player squad requirements. Maybe it's for like the registration rules that they're just signing English players with the huge markup. So they haven't really addressed the gaping holes in the team. And I think it still is the center of midfield, which people talk about the absolute clown car that is the defense. But I think that's a function of a lack of protection provided by the midfield.
Before you continue though, what about Thomas Partey? Because I have a close family friend, loves Arsenal, and he goes, Thomas is injured. We have Ben White injured, Gabriel injured from centre back. But look, apart from maybe Thomas Partey, who was a player at Atletico Madrid, I don't even think those centre backs are that much of an upgrade to where they were. Guaranteed Rob Holding, Callum Chambers, I didn't even know was at the club still. You know, like are they really that much of an upgrade?
It's quite confusing, the recruitment and these kinds of players that are brought in from the cold, like Callum Chambers, to suddenly be a part of the first team. Kolasinac playing as left-sided centre back on the back three. I thought, we worked that out very early into the Arteta reign that wasn't going to work. I think Kolasinac needs to don the cape and goggles and become some sort of like street superhero, kick-ass style character and preventing carjackings as opposed to being a professional footballer, because this guy was playing on loan for a relegated Schalke side.
And that's, I think, another interesting point. Kolasinac played at a relegated side. Aaron Ramsdale, who was signed, people forget that he's been double relegated with, was Bournemouth and then Sheffield United.
Yep.
A meme that I thought was hilarious was that he might be the first player to do the relegation three-peat if Arsenal do go down. So and obviously they've sent William Saliba out on loan, who, for the most part, I think was pretty impressive when he was out on loan in League One. Like, I don't know who's making the decisions and what kind of future they're working towards, and if there's even a plan of that.
Well, I think there is one player who is, I wouldn't pin it all on him, but I think he is emblematic of the kind of cultural decay at Arsenal in the fact that he's considered a leader, and that is Granit Xhaka.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been sent off 11 times in his career and 4 at Arsenal. I mean, how many second chances are we going to give this guy? The guy who ripped off the armband and, shouted abuse at his own supporters. He's just not the kind of consistent presence that they need in such a crucial position. And he also harms their build-up play. It's so much ball circulation and no forward momentum, no verticality to it. He's just receiving the ball, switching the play, receiving the ball, switching the play in these big U-shapes, and Arsenal never get anywhere. So, I mean, Granit Xhaka is overdue to be sold and should never be trusted again in a big game. But Arteta
at any
seems
club,
to
you're
see
just calling it now. Any club should never trust him again.
He should go back to playing for like a mid-table Bundesliga side. I think that's honestly his ceiling. He'll have occasional outstanding performances for Switzerland. He had a great game against France in the Euros, but it's not going to be a week in, week out thing with him. I do like Thomas Partey. Unfortunately, injuries have really delayed his impact on Arsenal. But Arteta as a manager has this unwavering faith in Granit Xhaka as a player, I think because he sees himself in Xhaka as that kind of tempo controlling midfielder. Arteta didn't let the team down with those kinds of petulant outbursts and disciplinary just madness that Xhaka does on a pretty regular basis. Not just getting sent off, but also just being at fault for goals, and doesn't seem to take responsibility on that front. So They need more leaders in this team. And I know that's a cliched kind of English ham-headed thing to say, but I think it's true. And
I mean, I watched the game. Aubameyang was kind of just meandering around. Lacazette didn't even look like he wanted to come on. To your point, Granit Xhaka got sent off. Rob Holding, I can't tell whether his hair is blonde or if he's actually going bald and it's just that thin. But yeah, you look around the pitch and who's going to take control and kind of run them forward. It's, you know, we can't just give the ball to Bukayo Saka and hope that he does something every single time.
100%. And they don't know what formation they want to play. I mean, if you're signing Ben White, you should be playing a back three because that's the position he excels in, that kind of almost sweeper role in the center of the back three. He was pretty good for Leeds in the Championship and Brighton last season, playing in the middle of the three. That's his kind of speciality, but he's not very good in the air. And when you're playing in a three, you've got more cover in that department because you've got presumably two other centre backs who can win the aerial balls, but the amount of duels that Ben White wins is far lower than your average centre half. So he's going to be a problem in that department if you're going to play him in a four. So if that signing was made with no forethought for the formation that Arteta wanted to play, it's a very foolish one to spend 60 million on this guy because, you know, they played in a four with him in the team, then he got COVID, and now they've switched to a back three without him, which makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, and is he worth that amount of money?
It's the English tax. I mean, I think Ben White's a good player, but it's a laughable sum. I mean, Brighton are laughing all the way to the bank with this one. Brighton do some smart business, and they've absolutely fleeced Arsenal on this deal. Does not mean to say that Ben White won't be a success at Arsenal, because I think he's got a lot of potential, but they've absolutely overpaid by at least 20 million, I would say.
Hey, and so we'll end the Arsenal question on this. I asked an Instagram question the other day, name a more iconic duo than a McFlurry and large chips. One of the answers I got back was Arteta and Edu. If you were calling the shots there and Arteta has to go, who are you looking to bring in?
I think if Arteta gets fired, Edu should be fired as well.
Yeah.
Because he's been responsible for so many transfer flops. I mean, one of the worst decisions they've made in recent years was to give Aubameyang that fat contract.
Signed the thing.
And as soon as he signed on the bottom line, his performances dropped off a cliff.
It's because he's too much money in the pockets, you know what I mean? Like too heavy. Like it makes it hard to get around the pitch like you used to.
And at the time he signed that deal, he was scoring a lot of important goals, and I understood why they decided they need to keep a hold of him, even if it wasn't for the best of the rest of the squad. But the amount of money they're paying him is kind of mortgaged the future and the investment in the rest of the team, which is very disappointing for Arsenal fans who they need to see the next generation coming through. They need to see some kind of progress. I think there is one bright spot, and that is the few youngsters who've come through the academy recently, particularly Emil Smith-Rowe, who looks like quite a player. And I do think Odegaard is a decent acquisition as well. But I don't know when this generation is finally going to flourish and when Arsenal are going to compete for even Europa League places again, because it doesn't look like they're going to this season. They're bottom of the table. Yeah. Unbelievable. All right, my second question for you is a big one. You messaged me the day of. I got heaps of texts the day of. CR7 or CR28 maybe, because Cavani's got number 7. Cristiano Ronaldo back at Old Trafford. First, as a fan, you must be gassed. Well, I don't think I'm as excited as you were.
You know what? Like the thing is, when he left for Real Madrid, Mum tells this story, right? I found out he left, and then in the kitchen, I leant up against the wall, and then I stood there in silence for ages. Didn't move. Was devastated. And to have him back is incredible. I wasn't expecting it. I was already denouncing him, not gonna lie, because of the Man City rumors. I said to Christina in the car, my fiance, Messi is the greatest of all time. So it's one of those things where do I regret saying those things? Yes, I do. I'm terribly sorry. But also if he went to Man City, it would have tarnished his legacy at United. But the question is, where does he fit in for you in the side? And does that turn United into genuine title contenders?
Look, I have mixed feelings about this move. As a United fan, I think you're a much bigger United fan than I am these days, but still the nostalgia factor is huge. Pump it directly into my veins. Looking at all those old highlights videos of like sort of 07, 08 seasons where he really became the best player in the world in that short period of time was just incredible. And he was a force of nature at United and in the first few years at Real Madrid, absolutely incredible. And then he morphed into more of a penalty box goal scorer as, time kind of caught up with him after a while, and he stopped being Ronaldo running down the wing, as the song goes, and is more Ronaldo standing on the penalty spot waiting for the cross to come in. Yeah. And that's why I wonder whether he's the best fit for this United team that is so reliant on pace and transition. He doesn't contribute defensively. I think I saw a stat that he's in the first percentile for pressures per 90.
Yeah.
Is like, you've got if you're in the 50th percentile, that's average. And if you're in the 99th percentile, you're exceptional.
Yeah.
And he's in the first percentile. So he just doesn't really chase the ball.
Yeah.
He kind of meanders in between the defensive and midfield lines of the opposition and tries to block passing lanes. That's about all he does defensively. And I'm not sure if a modern pressing side can really carry Ronaldo at this age. I mean, Juventus arguably got appreciably worse, even as Ronaldo's goal scoring tallies were increasing in his time at the club. He was equal top scorer in Serie A last season, and the club only barely qualified for the Champions League. Yeah. So I'm not sure if he makes the team better, but will he score goals? Absolutely. Of course he will score goals. Ronaldo always scores goals, whether they're penalties or tap-ins, it doesn't matter. Yeah. He's just obsessed with that kind of output, and it's going to be fun to see him in a United jersey again. Absolutely. But is it going to make United better? I have a few doubts.
Yeah, because you're a hater. So anyway, Cristiano, if you're listening, you can do no wrong. I apologize again for calling you a snake. Clearly, you did not go to Manchester City, but whatever Josh says, I have to distance myself because you're my guy. You'll score goals. We're winning the league. Calling it there.
It was nice to see the old brigade of the team that won the Champions League and all those Premier League titles come out and try and persuade Ronaldo to come back. Sir Alex was on the phone, agent Rio Ferdinand.
He was out there.
Patrice Evra was messaging him on WhatsApp. It's like this cachet that United is still clinging on to from those days is still alive and well. It's good to see. And I'm glad he didn't go to City because,
so how would you have reacted if he went to City?
On the inside, I would have been very upset. On the outside, I would have pretended to be happy because City were wasting their money on, a washed-up striker. But on the inside, I would have hurt because I'm a football romantic at heart, and Messi going to PSG is like everything wrong with modern football, summed up in one transfer move. So Ronaldo coming back to United gives you a little bit of faith that that loyalty is not gone altogether in the age of the Bosman transfer.
Let's end the Ronaldo section with this: Messi in Liga or Ronaldo in EPL, which will be the bigger success?
I don't think PSG need Messi to win Liga. I mean, they didn't win it last season somehow. This little side with a 36-year-old Burak Yilmaz beat them to the punch.
Hey, shout out Lille.
But Messi came on last night against Rhyme, and he had one
photos
run
with the opposition's kids and stuff.
It's going to be like, the Rolling Stones on tour with Messi in France every week. The opposition fans are going to be chanting for him. He's so universally beloved. But I think we'll only really see the true test of this PSG side when it comes to the Champions League matches and what ceiling they have. And of course, Mbappe's future is still very much up in the air. So that changes the dynamic of the team. If Mbappe does leave for Real Madrid now rather than at the end of the season. Ronaldo in the Premier League, I think, is just going to make much more of an impact in terms of the media coverage, because who watches Liga? Like, not many people watch this competition. It's got some interesting teams in it. I'm all for the Uber Eats Farmers competition, but Marseille are a lot of fun. You've got Lille. Lyon are good to watch. Like it's a good league, but it's sort of a foregone conclusion. So I don't think people are going to be particularly excited. You're going to see the occasional highlight, whereas Ronaldo's going to have the big spotlight on him. So I think in terms of cultural impact, I'll say Ronaldo. In terms of the Champions League, I think PSG have got more of a chance of winning it this season than United, but I'm not sure if either of these sides is really functional enough to actually claim the major silverware. I think it's probably going to be Chelsea.
Final thing for today's episode of the Rondo, which I think might come a bit out of left field, but I've been thinking about this a little bit. Memphis Depay, heir to Messi's throne, or what are we thinking here? Because he scored again on the weekend. He looks like he's become a bit of the focal point for this Barcelona attack. I don't know if Kun Aguero has graced the pitch yet. I'm not sure. Has he been registered yet?
I think he's injured, isn't he?
Is he injured? I'm not sure.
He's usually injured. I'm just assuming.
Yeah, I know because of the financial situation, people have to take pay cuts to get other players registered in, but he's looking like he fits like a glove and kind of leading the line now.
I love Memphis Depay. I think he's a fantastic player. He's a player who can put a team on his back and they're going to do okay. He's got bags of ability, but also bags of self-belief. And I think that's a really valuable thing in a football, even if it's irrational confidence. Confidence is always good.
Yeah.
Griezmann should be given more of an opportunity to shine as well, without Messi taking up the limelight, but also taking up a lot of the positions that he traditionally occupies, coming in off the right on into his left foot or playing centrally. Whereas Depay, of course, is the reverse of that. So they should complement each other quite well in terms of the positions and angles that they use to attack. Barcelona's central dilemma is still the center of midfield. So no matter how many stars they add to the front line, when you've got Sergio Busquets and Frankie de Jong playing there, they are fundamentally incompatible. And I don't think you can win the league with that combination, because one or the other, not both, because they both want to drop and receive the ball almost between the centre backs. And that means that you have no passing options higher up in midfield to actually progress the ball. So that's where Barcelona are going to fall down in the big games against teams who can actually close those spaces and defend against them properly.
Because I was watching the highlights, and they didn't really dominate the game.
They don't dominate. It's not Barcelona football.
Yeah.
It's very. It's quite a sight to see when you've got Ronald Koeman in the Barcelona dugout playing quite conservative sort of percentages style football. It's like if Rafa Benitez is in charge or something. It's not really Barcelona DNA, even if he is Dutch. It's weird. It's weird to watch, and it's quite a fall from grace. But of course, they can't sign anyone at the moment because they're over the wage cap.
Yeah. How does a football club get run like that? As a side note, when I was reading about, like, obviously that whole crisis and the numbers, it just blew my mind that no one ever looked at the books and went, hang on, like, it doesn't take a genius to go, we don't have the money to do this.
I think this is one situation where maybe democracy isn't all that it's cracked up to be, because you've got a succession of populist presidents. If people don't know how La Liga clubs are run, there's no owners. There are socios, there are sort of shareholders, I suppose, ticket holders that vote on the presidential elections. And all of the people that end up running the club are kind of Barcelona local businessmen. They've all got substantial personal wealth, because you sort of have to even be in the running for that kind of position. But it's the club's money that they're playing with, not their own. So they usually end up, in order to get elected again the next time round, making all sorts of outlandish promises about the players they're going to sign. So that lends itself to a certain short-term thinking when you've got elections every few years. And it's devolved into a situation where Barcelona is 2 billion euros in debt.
I can't even imagine that amount of money.
I know. It's like beyond the human imagination, I think.
You'd think when they were $1 billion in debt, someone would have gone, hang on, we've got $1 billion to pay off.
Here's something I found on the web. According to TheSimpleDollar.com, the jackpot for Wednesday's drawing is X.
Even Alexa's chiming.
Alexa can't conceive of Barcelona's debt.
Stop.
According to the...
Good now. But yeah,
I preferred Alexa. I think I should replace you as host.
Yeah, that's fair enough. She's got a lot more life in her voice, I think, and access to an infinite amount of knowledge. So I would also prefer her. Where's the ceiling for Memphis Depay at Barcelona?
I think he can be a genuine, Champions League level star. I don't think he's going to be like a Ballon d'Or winner or anything, but he's a very, very gifted footballer. And if he has the right support structure of players around him, he will really shine. If it's in this Barcelona team, he'll be pretty good because you can only be fed the ball so often by a midfield of De Jong and Busquets. I just cannot understand why they keep playing those two together. it is fundamentally incompatible, and De Jong is always a fish out of water unless he's playing as the deepest midfielder in a three. That's his position, because he's not very good at passing, which is a very strange thing to say about a central midfield player.
Yeah,
but he's more of a dribbler.
Yes.
If you watched Ajax in their Champions League run, where they got to the semi-finals and Lucas Moura broke their hearts, De Jong was always receiving the ball deep, turning and getting pressured by an opponent, and then just dribbling past them and then creating an overload. And the work further up the field was actually being done by the midfielders moving off the ball in order to provide him an easy passing option once they got into that situation. So in many ways, it was actually Donny van de Beek who was the crucial player in the Ajax 11, who's now rotting away on the United bench.
Painful.
But De Jong as an 8 or a 10, it doesn't work for me.
So then in this Barcelona squad, then how would you organize their midfield, knowing that you can't spend any money anymore? Who would you be bringing in?
It's an interesting conundrum, isn't it? Well, for starters, I never would have allowed Ivan Rakitic to leave. He went to Sevilla, and I think he's fundamentally underappreciated. The other thing is that it's easy for me to say Busquets should be phased out. It's easy to, sell him in Football Manager or whatever. But when you're actually dealing with the Barcelona dressing
and you've
room,
never loved Busquets.
He served his purpose in a team where Iniesta was always showing for the ball. Busquets it's now zagged. Like, it used to be that Busquets was this underrated midfielder, and now you see all this stuff about those Barcelona glory days under Guardiola and Enrique, where it's like, oh, you watch Busquets, you understand football. I think it's gone too far in the other direction, this kind of hero worship. It's in this kind of sport Bible age of 2-sentence pool quotes. But he served his purpose, but he's pretty washed now. Like, he doesn't really run anymore, but he's got incredible influence in the Barcelona dressing room. He's this kind of godlike figure. Now that Messi's gone, he's the man. So it's difficult to displace him politically, but in an ideal world where you could shift him out of the starting 11 and not cause the entire sort of social structure in Catalonia to crumble, then I would probably pick Busquets as the 6. Ooh, it's actually hard. They don't have too many options. I would be bringing in Ricky Puig, the youngster, who I'm super impressed with, as one of the other central midfielders, and then Pedri, who needs to be put in some sort of hyperbaric chamber to rest from all the football he's played in the past 18 months. They've been overloading him, but he's very gifted, and I think he would be my other central midfield player. That's a very young team, but Barcelona need to regenerate. Yeah,
and if you have no cash, you know what? You got to turn to La Masia again, the once famed academy. Absolutely. And they got the talent there, and I agree with you, Pedri. What a player, but also the amount of football that he's played, just gone from last season to Euros. Then I saw him at the Olympics. I didn't know he was in the Olympic squad. To be fair, I wasn't really following the Olympic squads that much, but I turned on the Olympics and he was there. He looked gaunt. So maybe a bit of a break for Pedri would be good, but I think, that midfield trio makes sense.
Usually I roll my eyes at footballers when they say they're being treated badly or whatever, because I'm like, you're getting paid so much. Come on.
Yeah.
Ronaldo famously called himself a slave in 2009 when they wouldn't let him leave.
Leave my guy Ronaldo alone. You've had enough.
It's a fact. It's what he said. But Pedri has genuine cause for some sort of HR complaint against his various employers. It's crazy the amount of football that he's had to put up with. The Olympics was a bridge too far, and they didn't even get the gold medal.
But that's Spain's.
I'm really hoping he doesn't have some sort of career-ending injury, because he's a generational talent, and I'm really excited to see him blossom. But I think it's good that he hasn't featured in a Barcelona squad in a couple of weeks, because he needs his sleepy buys. He needs to
for sure
get that strength back. And
we can't end without mentioning that Ansu Fati is also on the road to recovery, and what an exciting talent he is still. But for him to pull that shirt back on and to get that young dynamic right, in that squad, I think is going to be super important for their success moving forward, especially with the financial issues.
I mean, Fati on the left, Depay playing as a false 9, and Griezmann on the right is pretty tasty on paper. So He's so gifted, Ansu Fati, and he came out of absolutely nowhere. If you look at his upbringing and where he's come from, it's
100%.
quite amazing story. But it's a really nasty injury for a player his age to suffer. So I hope we get to see the best of him. And I hope we haven't already seen the best of Ansu Fati.
Yeah, he's elite on FIFA career mode. Yeah, you got to sign that kid right up.
100%.
Well, look, that's been the first episode of the Rondo. How was that?
Look, I enjoyed it. I've been spouting my football opinions at you unsolicited for years, Ryan. So it's nice to be asked.
Yeah, I think
just nice to ask.
You know what I think, right? It's we have these conversations, and I'm like, why not just record them and then let the internet judge us? And by us, I mean you, because you did it. I'm going to let you do most of the talking, because I just am just a fanatic. You are a student of the game, as Gary Neville likes to say repeatedly on Monday Night Football, that everyone is a student of the game. So I'm excited to be doing this with you. I think it'll be really, really insightful for some people just to hear someone that actually knows what they're talking about. No shots at anyone. If you're offended, it's probably because there's some element of truth in that.
If it hits too close to home, that's usually when it hurts. But yeah. I think you've done an artful job of dodging any internet bullets by making me express the controversial opinions.
Look, I said I have my one-liners, I have my moments, and I feel people might latch onto those more than your breakdowns,
rambling tactical explanations.
Yeah, like how I said Ronaldo was a snake, which he's not, because he didn't go to Man City. But did I think it? Yes, I did. Leave me alone.
We all had those thoughts.
Yes.
It's okay to admit it. It's a safe space.
Yeah. Until we upload. Cool. Until next time, I've been Ryan. He's been Josh Parrish. We're going to link all your stuff in the comments and the descriptions. We'll be doing this more often. Maybe after every time a big signing gets announced.
So January then.
Until January. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Ryan.